Good day everyone and welcome to this webinar about next generation DAM integrations. How to manage integrations in a SaaS environment. My name is Pijsel. I'm VP Product Management at WoodWing. I joined WoodWing in 2010 and currently I'm responsible for the product management team. I love to solve real customer problems together with our cross-functional teams and to manage the future roadmap. During my spare time, I love to run, do camping, and I love family activities. But enough about me. Let's have a look at integrations. So why would you need integrations in the first place? And the problem is quite simple. So the creation and management of content more than often feels like a content spaghetti instead of an organized process. And there are many factors that contribute to this spaghetti, but the most important ones are the content itself. So our users create exceptionally beautiful and meaningful content. So this is not only highly designed content, but for example also news, marketing material, financial content, etc. A second aspect is the number of distribution channels. So no longer you only have to publish your content to print. You have to publish your content to apps, social media, email, websites, etc. Next is the scale and velocity of the content. Think, for example, of producing a newspaper or managing a content repository with millions of product images. But lastly, and maybe the most important one, are people. So high quality content is never created in a vacuum. This requires a team of people to create. In order to solve that problem, it's good to work towards a content orchestration strategy. So with content orchestration, people and tools work seamlessly together to plan, create, manage, and distribute content. And this is what we see in the market. So we see three different types of customers and organizations and how they approach technology and integrations. First of all, we see a class of customers who are unstructured. So basically they're using unconnected tools, so as a DAM and Google Docs. We see silos between departments and teams, often ad hoc workflows, and it is reactive and not scalable. Then we see a class of customers that already invested in standardization. So they use the same tools across their organization and some basic workflows are in place. But still these tools are not integrated, so content is locked away into silos. So you run those risk of outdated files, duplicate content, etc. And then lastly, we see a class of customers that really invest in content orchestration. As I said before, this is a state in which the tools are seamlessly integrated and work with one another, combined with strong workflow, training, and organization. Content is easily accessible to people inside and outside the organization, and also from the tools that they use on a daily basis. Strong metadata and permissions ensure that only the right people can access the right file. So for this, it's important that two systems are interconnected. If we look at the history of integrations, it's good to compare on-premise and cloud integrations because they are slightly different. So in an on-premise environment, you have full control about your upgrade process. So you are in control when you upgrade your third-party components. In cloud, you have less control. So you cannot dictate when a service is upgraded. We see services which are upgraded multiple times a day. For an on-prem situation, your infrastructure is unmanaged. In cloud, it's often fully managed. And the availability depends locally depends on your local infrastructure, so how you set it up. In cloud, this is typically a redundant infrastructure. Then the security aspect of integration. So on a local or on-premise environment, you are dependent on your local SD staff. Whereas in the cloud, this is a shared responsible, often multiple interconnected vendors. From a technical point of view, in cloud, we see that it's good to work with webhooks and APIs, and I will explain that a bit later. These tools are also available on-prem, but more than often we see direct integrations. So for example, a direct integration with a database or a hot folder integration. And these type of integrations are not very sustainable. If we look at cloud native integrations, there are a few key requirements to look for. The first one is that you need to connect the tools via APIs. So these APIs form a set of rules and functions, and you can be certain that those are stable. And that if you upgrade one of the components, that the APIs stay the same. Also, your solution has to be scalable, so that it can grow with the demands of the future. It has to be auditable, so that you can see what has happened with an integration. And ideally, you invest in version control. So this makes the management of integrations a lot easier. If you're doing on-premise integrations, then also version control is a recommended requirement. Then there are basically two ways or two distinct technologies that you can use to build up your integration stack. The first one is using serverless technology like AWS Lambda, Azure Functions, or Google Functions. The big advantage is that these technologies scale and that you do not have to manage the infrastructure. But they come with a price, so you need a lot of technical knowledge to create this class of integrations. So this is where iPaaS stepped in. So this is integration platform as a service. We see a lot of vendors. I just put a few on the slide. So Zapier, if this and that, and Workato are key iPaaS providers. And I will explain the differences between serverless and iPaaS in the next slide. So if we look at the various differences between serverless and iPaaS, we both see that both of these solutions are super scalable. They can scale to whatever need you require. However, from an operational load, you see that the deployment and maintainability of serverless is higher. For iPaaS, this is taken care of by the iPaaS platform. Also, the technology knowledge required is a lot lower. So if you invest in serverless, then typically you need a business analyst to define the integration, and you need a DevOps engineer to build your integration and to ensure that it is safe and, for example, that the auditability is taken care of. In an iPaaS platform, that's not needed. So basically, a business analyst can build their own integrations, and the platform takes care of all the technical difficulties. Both solutions are secure, but in a serverless integration, you need to invest in DevOps engineers that are trained in security. And then lastly, the lead time for new integrations and new platforms. For serverless, they are higher, and in iPaaS they are low. And the reason for this is that typically iPaaS platforms come with a huge set of so-called connectors, which are built on top of the APIs of the various systems. And these connectors make it very easy to build your integration. And basically, what you only have to do is create the glue or so-called recipe between two connectors. So the lead time is a lot less for iPaaS integrations. In this example, we would like to synchronize product data between a DAM and a PIM system, so a product information management system, but it could also be a Google Sheet or an Excel sheet, for example. So, and we connect the two systems using a product ID. So let's say that we update or upload a new image into the DAM. We fill in the product ID in the required metadata, and that triggers a webhook which is sent to the iPaaS system or the serverless integration. So a webhook is just an event that something has happened. So in this case, it's a new file. It could also be that a metadata field has changed. And based on this trigger, a recipe is started. And as you see, the recipe connects the connector for the DAM with the connector for the Google Sheet or PIM system. So in this case, the recipe detects, okay, we see a new image with the product data. So the PIM system will request, or the recipe will request the PIM system for the needed information via the API, and then using the API of the DAM, update the metadata of the image. The other way around also works. So let's say that you update information in your PIM or in your Google Sheet. That also triggers a webhook. So a record has been changed. That's received via the connector. Recipe is started and it's detected, okay, this product has been updated. So what you then do is that using the API, you search the DAM for all images with that specific product ID. And for those images, you update the metadata. So you see that with a few simple steps, you can create a complex integration that keeps your PIM system and your DAM system 100% in sync. And using the webhooks and the APIs, you can freely upgrade the DAM or the PIM independently. Then some recommendations. So what to look for in a cloud DAM. So it's important that the DAM has an open API. So REST API, webhooks, those kind of technologies. It could be that your DAM does not support these technologies. In that case, invest in an intermediate layer that offers these APIs. Second thing to look for is if there is a thriving integrations ecosystem. So if there is a development community, a partner community that can help you building those integrations, and this is also proof that the system is capable of supporting many integrations. Then and this is primarily in your iPaaS solution. So if you opt for an iPaaS solution, is the availability of connectors. So the more connectors, the better it is, because this saves you time in the future connecting systems that you currently do not have in your ecosystem. And lastly, and this depends if you are in a hybrid situation. So let's say that you have a on-premise DAM that you want to connect to a cloud service. So then it's important that your iPaaS solution has tooling to access the on-prem system behind the firewall. So there are tools available in the market that can help you with these cases. So if you run in this situation, then have a look for those tools. So a small summary. So what did we show you in this webinar? So interconnectivity is basically the norm for any DAM. So a DAM has to be embedded within your ecosystem. So the days that a DAM was just a dusty archive where your content sits and dies a slow death, those are long gone. So your DAM is a real content hub where all your incoming and outgoing content streams flow through the DAM, and the DAM is really interconnected with all the tools in your ecosystem. Secondly, new tools and services pop up every month. So it's important to invest in tools that support a quick turnaround time for developing integrations. Then open APIs. So using the open APIs, you can quickly connect systems. So that's basically the norm for any modern system that you invest in. Have a look if they have open APIs. This will be very beneficial in the future. And lastly, iPaaS technology plays an important role in the quick turnaround time for developing integrations. And with that, I would like to thank you. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to us. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can drop me an email. Thank you very much for your attention.